should be a natural with this stuff, seeing as my mom is who she is.
I know. Awesome. So welcome everyone. Let me just hit the record on here. Yeah, so welcome to day 3 of our adventure. This is the last day, and it's been great so far, and we have some wonderful, exciting speakers sharing with us today, and I hope you guys are really looking forward to it. And I'm also sad a little bit that today is the last day, and but I'm so thankful that I've been able to share all this information with you guys. Really, it has been a dream come true for me. So I have Jesse on board with us this morning, and I've been really fortunate to have Jesse in my life. And we were just talking about how broccoli sprouts and various other microgreens are changing my life in radical ways. And this one person I follow, Chris Beat Cancer, even said the same thing, that broccoli sprouts are so packed with nutrition that everybody should be having them. So this is Jesse Woodshots. He is Rayanne's son, and he's the owner of Medicine Valley Farms, and he's going to share a little bit about growing microgreens on his fabulous farm. So yeah, Jesse, if you want to take it over.
For sure. Thanks, Tanya.
Yeah.
First of all, Tanya, you are incredible. I really do mean that. The story is, I don't know, it's what you can do when you put the work in on yourself. And to me, that's one thing, and I'll probably cry at some point in this video because I mean that so much. The world is a weird place right now, and I do believe that when we do the work ourselves, it just makes the world a little bit lighter. And so on an individual level, when we put in the work, it can heal our bodies, and it can heal our minds, and it can heal our spirit. But we also, just in a collective sense, I believe there's a connection to everything. So when we do the work ourselves, we really are opening doors for others around us that we might not even see it. So I just wanted to say I really admire your courage and the work you've done, and it is motivating and inspiring. But I think when I think back to when I first heard about your story, and my mom, we were doing our website. So for the farm, we had reached out to Tanya to help us with our website creation, and I think we got about like halfway finished before you were diagnosed, and we kind of put a halt on everything, obviously. But I just remember feeling like intuitively there wasn't going to be what took you down. And I had this feeling that, like, didn't really know Tanya too much at that point, and I still have a lot to get to know about Tanya. But I think intuitively I knew right away that you were going to get through it. And I think it was more or less my mind talking with my mom immediately went to, how do we help? Like, how do we see this through? Because there's no way this is the end. And it didn't even come through my head that way. So microgreens was what I was starting with the farm, and we were growing microgreens, and I was just learning how packed broccoli is with a micronutrient called sulforaphane. And so that's an anti-cancer compound that's found in broccoli microgreens in a concentration that are shown in studies about 10 times higher than the actual broccoli plant. So for somebody that's dealing with cancer, to have something so packed with anti-cancer properties is something that's obviously going to be fuel for the body to deal with it. So that was an easy thing for us to bring you, and I'm so glad you enjoyed them, because I'm not I told you before this, I'm not a vegetable guy. So like, I recall growing up, if mom put a plate of vegetables in front of me, it was like torture. Like, Mom, are you punishing me? Like, what is happening? So just being able to now just kind of sprinkle broccoli microgreens. They're not even broccoli. There's so many varieties of microgreens, and I'll get into that a little bit more later. But just being able to sprinkle them on everything, put them in smoothies, soups, obviously salads, but sandwiches, anything that you use lettuce with, you can really use microgreens, and it's a delicious but nutrient dense way to eat your microgreens and to get your nutrients in you. So that's just been really a blessing for me, and I hope it is for everyone else. And so that's kind of my hope with microgreens, is that people get a little bit of education around them, because I think we mostly see them in fine dining situations, which is just low production. Not many people are growing microgreens, so the cost to get them is a little bit higher. It's just a supply and demand thing, but we look to change that. It's kind of a goal of our farm to be affordable and focus on making it something that everybody can access here in Alberta anyway. But I did want to say, so Tanya, thank you for having me. I really am quite honored, and I feel like I'm I don't want to say nothing, but to follow up all these other amazing speakers and coaches. I feel blessed to just even be in the same breath as everybody that's been on here, and to represent the farm and my family. I feel very blessed. So thank you for that opportunity. One thing I wanted to talk about, I think more than anything really, was just the fact that I do believe there's a connection to everything in our world, and it's very easy for us to feel separated. So I just wanted to take a moment today to kind of connect people to their food, and to understand a little bit better how Alberta is getting our food, and maybe how we as a farm here are focused on being a solution for food security. So and to not only have access to food, but good food that's nutrient dense, that's fresh, and can really fuel our bodies moving forward to be our best selves. So that's really important to me. I kind of, after I spent my childhood on a dairy farm, and we grew up idolizing sports and farms, and just traditional Canadian Alberta boy. But so I think with our with me playing so much sports, I really got disconnected from food and the importance of land and taking care of land. And this last few years, being able to come back to my family's land and spend time just being here, it's really motivated me to learn more about where we're getting our food from, and how I can ensure that when I have kids, they're going to have a planet that's as rich in resources as we've been blessed to have. So I know it might be a little bit off topic from what the summit might be, but in my mind, it's really not, because the body connection to our land is I think missing in a lot of our lives. So if I can just maybe be a voice for like our water sources and our landscapes that are giving us the nourishment and sustenance to be our best and to just exist and to thrive, I think is really important. I know I've watched all these other speakers, and there's so many great tools that I believe we need to have in our toolkits to be our best selves, but just understanding that we are a part of a greater collective, and that I believe when we just make conscious efforts to take care of our body, like I said earlier, it really does impact the whole. And when you take care of your body, you might start to see things in nature or in your community that might be lacking, or there might be a room for improvement. And when we take care of ourselves, it obviously gives us the opportunity to look out for others and look out for our planet. So I think with our goal here on the farm is to provide food that can fuel people to be their best, and then be the best member in the community, and be the best member to nature and to our planet, and to keep finding ways to be our best. So I really do think that it's important to just kind of understand and maybe look into where we are getting our food from. I know here on the farm, we focus on using regenerative agriculture techniques. We try and use a low carbon footprint. So what that means briefly is we're really recycling a lot of our soil, the animal waste. So like any manure is composted. We have worm composting bins. And so we're really trying to use natural systems to fertilize our food and grow our food. And we keep it simple. It's soil, seeds, and water and light. Um, so that's a pretty simple recipe. Nature's been fueling humans for millennia, millions of years, just with soil, seed, and water and light. And so we keep it simple, and that's sustainable for us. So that's really important, like I said, for my kids to just have a planet that is going to be rich in nutrients or resources, the way we've been blessed to have. So that's just something I really was important to me to make sure I touched on today, was just making an effort to understand where our food is coming from, and who's growing it. It's quite different, and as you'll see, if you do follow our farm, we are going to be doing a lot of education around the differences between the current agricultural method and how we are growing our food. So microgreens are just a piece to the puzzle here on the farm, and it's just a piece to the food security puzzle here in Alberta. But like you've been saying, and for yourself, they've been amazing, Tanya. And I know for us as a family, they've been really incredible. I know my mom bugs me when I am short a week and I don't have microgreens to drop off. She sends me the text, I'm missing my microgreens. So no, and it's just been very nice to be able to give that to people. So I think it's been a huge blessing for me to be a part of just this movement of sustainable food and local food. It's really quite nice, and I really enjoy it. One other thing, like I could probably talk all day, and Tanya, if you have questions or anything, pop in and ask them. But I think one thing that was another, I guess, voice I wanted to be was for our headwaters. So microgreens, we grow with a well here on the farm. We have a well that's spring fed. And so we've got unlimited access to water for the most part. And that's something that not a lot of people have access to in the world. So it's very important to us here on the farm how we manage our water and how we use our water. But also that's another piece to where you're getting your food from. There's a lot of farms that do not have to pay for their water use. There's a lot of places that get away with selling their food without charging you for their water. And I just wanted to, I'm not going to get into headwater conservation and things like that, but for us to protect our food and our farmers' ability to grow food, we need to protect our water sources. And so I just, maybe a challenge, look into where our headwaters are. I'll give you a hint. They are just in the most beautiful part of Alberta. So that's my hint. You figure it out, headwaters. But without our water sources being protected and cared for, we're not going to have sustainable food production. We're not going to have clean food, clean water. So just another, as a farmer and a passionate member of my community, I really, water is life, and that is not a debate. Nothing exists here without water. It's the key to so much. It's the key to everything. And so I have one point here in bold. Just make sure you bring up headwaters, because my own personal experience, my own family, I don't think any of us before me knew anything about headwaters, where our water, it wasn't even a thought process where our water came from when we turned the tap. So just a challenge, just to check into where we get our water sources here in Edmonton and Alberta and Calgary, and wherever you are in the world, wherever you're seeing this. But that was one other thing I wanted to mention, was just we can do better with our headwaters and being aware of the things we can do to protect them. But I think that's pretty much it for microgreens. Like I can talk about, there's a lot of varieties. I guess I can bring that up. So
Yeah.
Just the different flavor profiles. It's really easy to enjoy microgreens. I know broccoli is probably the most, I guess, like famous microgreen because of its anti-cancer properties, and it's so packed with such beneficial nutrients. But all of our microgreens have, have done research at the University of Maryland now that shows microgreens are 10 to 40 times more nutrient dense than their vegetable counterpart. And like we were talking before, it blows my mind that something so small, one tiny microgreen, can be 10 times, let alone 40 times more nutrient packed than their vegetable counterpart. But in a tiny seed, it's actually, you have the recipe and the ingredients for that whole plant to grow. So if you can imagine eating the seed, it would be even more beneficial. But your system doesn't digest the seed, and who wants to eat a bunch of seeds? So I should break the myth as well. Microgreens are not sprouts. So there's a difference between microgreens and sprouts, simply that sprouts are much shorter growing cycles. So they're about a 2 to 7 day growing cycle, whereas microgreens are about 7 to 21 days. And they actually have their first set of leaves grow before we harvest them, whereas sprouts actually don't have any leaves growing before they're harvested. So I guess microgreens are more like baby greens in that only their stems and leaves are considered edible, but they're much smaller in size than baby greens and are sold before being harvested, really. So that means that somebody can place an order and we can have a tray of microgreens growing fresh, and we can harvest fresh and bring microgreens fresh, freshly harvested to the person. So it's been a very convenient thing to grow because we can grow them indoors. Well, we really have preferred to grow them indoors just with our climate. But it's so easy to grow even on your windowsill. So people that don't maybe not want to buy them, or might find the prices a little bit out of their price range, we also would be happy to share with how people can be growing them at home on a windowsill. Because like I said, there's so many flavor profiles that everybody can find one, I can guarantee it. And like we kind of use radish as almost a replacement for pepper. And so I've kind of learned to just really finely dice up my microgreens, and you can sprinkle them on everything. And you've got like even tacos. The other day we had tacos and we just added microgreens to the tacos, and it was a perfect replacement for nutritionless lettuce. But yeah, that's the flavor profiles are quite rich, and quite a bit of diversity, and even color profiles. Like I know our red radish are quite pretty to look at.
And you are actually in a few grocery stores now.
Yeah,
Um,
we have been, and that's kind of I would say I really enjoy the grocery stores because we get to access people that otherwise might not see our farm, and it's local, so we can just say to people that are looking for microgreens, go here, and we're supporting the local. We try and support like homegrown in Stony Plain, H&W in Edmonton. So we're kind of doing independent grocery stores, locally owned stores that are locally managed and operated. Again, just to try and be a piece to that puzzle of making sure our grocery stores are full of food for when Alberta needs it.
yeah. Do you want to have someone that just said, can you repeat that? Which grocery stores
Yeah.
are you in?
So if you're in the Stony Plain, like west side of Edmonton area, there's Homegrown Foods. They're an organic food store in Stony Plain. They were actually our first store, so they've got a space in my heart forever because they were the first kind of grocery store we got in with. So we really love Homegrown. And then there's the H&W location just by West Edmonton Mall. So we carry microgreens there, and that's it for Edmonton. We do sell them at Decino's independent grocery store in Red Deer. So that's I think it's on a newer part of, it's the east side of Red Deer. So just
Okay.
for now, and we actually are planning, we just have a new space we're finishing in the shop. We've got a big shop that we're just finishing production to get a new hot water tank in, and we will be expanding our production in there. So we plan on getting into a few more locations as well, just to kind of spread out throughout Edmonton and central Alberta a little bit better.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think what you're doing is amazing. Like, and I've looked before for like broccoli sprouts, and I haven't found any in the grocery store. And I have to say, like, um, your broccoli doesn't even taste like broccoli to me. Like, I'm not a vegetable fan either, although now I'm eating pretty much all vegetables. But for me, like, I used to have to lather hummus or something on my
Yeah,
broccoli. And
ranch.
yeah, and now like eating like a handful of microgreens, I can just do that, and it's like, oh, there's my nutrition for this meal, it's just
That's so
incredible.
true. That's such a true, like it's so convenient because that's even me in the morning some days, like here on the farm. It's like I can't remember what movie it was. I think it was Eight Below, or one of those snow dog movies. And I'll never forget as a kid watching, the dog owner said a bad dog owner will feed himself before he feeds his dog. And so in on the farm, I make sure everybody's taken care of before I go and feed me. And so a lot of the time I will just cheat as I go by the fridge. I'll grab some pea shoots or some microgreens, and I'll just kind of toss them in my mouth, and it doesn't hit the spot by any means because it's so low in calories, but it does give me energy, and I can feel it like right away. It's like popping a little like energy pill, but it's nutrient dense real foods, and that's the best part. So the other thing I think to mention with microgreens is enzymes. So like most illness starts in the gut, and so we don't get enough digestive enzymes from our food because we don't eat enough. And if you're eating a lot of raw food, you are, because that's the only way to get digestive enzymes. It comes from living plants, and so when we freeze, cook, or process our foods, we actually lose a lot of those digestive enzymes, which is a key factor in properly digesting our food. So microgreens, because they're freshly harvested, they're still packed with those digestive enzymes. So just quickly popping a handful in the morning is like, it's not only good for your energy levels, but it's good for your digestive tract just to get those digestive enzymes working. It's got a multitude of benefits that I'm even still learning some of the benefits from microgreens. So they're amazing.
They really are. And like I said, I have been really enjoying them. And I know a lot of other people are the same. And for people that are going through chemotherapy, can sap your energy levels for sure. So having something like this, like, it's low calorie and you're getting tons of nutrition in that microgreen. And it's just like a mouthful, and it really makes a difference in your energy level and everything. So I can't say how amazing they are. If you're not in Alberta, there's other places you can
Yeah.
find some. And so I highly, highly recommend
Well, and
getting
even
microgreens.
like I said too, you can grow them at home. Like we're so
Hmm.
happy to like, if you wanted to reach out and follow us on Instagram or Facebook or even our website, you can check out our website. It's just medicinevalleyfarms.com. But we're happy to take, like, if somebody wants to write us an email or send me a personal message and just find out how do we grow them, and because it is really simple. It's not easy, I would say, because it does take effort. Like there is daily things to do. But if you've got the time and the desire to grow your own food, it is so easy to do, and we would be happy to share, because it's a part of our mission is to get these in everybody's home and have them be accessible for everybody. And we know, from a business perspective, not everybody wants to grow food at home, and not everybody wants to grow it indoors. So, and not everyone wants to have to check on it twice a day. So that's where we come in. We can supply you from there, but for the people that do want to grow it at home, we would be so happy to share with you how to do that.
I think that's one of the things also that I really like in talking with you over the past year. It's just there's something inside you that is so genuine and caring, and that's the reason why I wanted to do this summit, because everyone in here has been kind and caring, and you being able to teach people how to grow it in their own home is a huge part of it as well, because not a lot of people would offer that service and that information and that time and stuff like that. So I just wanted to thank you for being so thoughtful. And
Oh, it's a pleasure, and I give credit to my parents for raising a good kid because I'm a very lucky boy and a lucky man, and I feel like giving back is really probably the most important thing to me at this point in my life. So it is feels nice to hear that and to be recognized because it is important to me that we all do our best to take care of one another. So I got
I
tears in
agree.
my eyes as I'm saying this.
Aw. Well, is there anything else that you want people to know about your company or anything like that?
No, I think really like, I mean, definitely follow us. I know we have the, I haven't even brought it up, the wolf dogs here. We also are focused on rescuing animals. So when you support us, you're also supporting all the animals here on the farm. And we do hope to end up getting more land so that we can protect, not protect, but take care of. So I feel like the more I learn as a farmer, the more I realize a lot of other farmers can do better. And so that's inspired me to be that farmer and be that example, and to teach peers and anybody that wants to learn about food and about food production and about land stewarding, taking care of animals, the whole puzzle. I really am inspired to share with people and to be a part of a team that wants to see Alberta be a self-sustainable food producer. We import a ton of our produce, especially in the winter, and so there's some risks that come with that, like pesticides and preservatives and the amount of chemicals that get sprayed to transport that from Mexico or California up here, and then to sit on the shelf for a week or two. There's a lot of chemicals our bodies don't need that we have to eat because the food we're getting is sprayed with it. So I think it's just really important that I play a role on a team that can support our communities being self-sustainable. And I think that that's what I'm here for at this point in my life. And so, like I said, when you support us, I just look over that way because I would show my camera, but I don't want to mess it all up in the system. But the wolf dogs are here and we just actually had the chance to rescue them. So briefly, I can just touch on wolf dogs because that is also something I'm very passionate about. Is there's a lot of misinformation around wolves, so wild wolves, and then there's just a lack of awareness around what a wolf dog is. So I won't take too much time, but wolves, the difference between our wolf dogs and a wolf is only that the way they've been raised. So from a biology standpoint, you can phenotype an animal, which is looking at its physical appearance and looking at its behavior in its environment, and you can determine their biology based off of that. You don't have access to DNA tests, you don't have access to all this stuff. You phenotype an animal. So when you phenotype a wolf is very skittish. In the wild, it's going to be very rare to see a wolf. Over 50,000 years, humans are the only predator for a wolf. So wolves have learned to survive, stay the heck away from people. These wolf dogs were bred in captivity. So we don't believe in breeding. We believe that's a part of the problem we hope to raise awareness around is it comes down to the buyer. So if there's no demand for wolves being bred with dogs, we won't have wolf dogs. And so the reason I say we shouldn't have wolf dogs is you can't have them. So most people, it's like a novelty thing. So I think we've all maybe seen Game of Thrones or some movie with a wolf in it. And I know as a kid, I always was awe of somebody that had a wolf. But the more I got older, the more I realized it was inappropriate. And unless you were in a rescue situation, and you were buying a wolf dog, you might not know what you're doing at the time, but it was inappropriate, and you were putting that animal in greater risk than reward. So what I mean by that is most people get a wolf dog as a puppy. They have it for the first 3 to 5 months when it's manageable. And as soon as it gets to a point where it's too big or it needs more exercise than they can give it, it's jumping out of the backyard, it's escaping daily, and eventually it ends up at a shelter, an animal shelter.
Mm.
Animal shelters can't adopt out wolf dogs. So I just wanted to say, when people are buying wolf dogs, it usually ends up at a shelter where it's being euthanized because they can't adopt that animal back out. So part of our mission as we grow and scale up our business is to offer a home to more animals in need. And so 2 of the animals we had the opportunity to rescue this last year were wolf dogs. They are considered high content. So if you took a DNA test of them physically, it would show up as a wolf. The difference between them and a wild wolf was, like I said, they were bred and raised in captivity. So their relationship with humans is the relationship a dog would have. We let them run around with us and our pack of dogs out here, just like a member of the pack. And they've been socially raised. They're very social animals. And like I said, that is not a wolf. So at this point, they're wolf dogs, high content wolf dogs. They still have some instincts that you can tell that are way different than any dog I've ever raised. But the reason we were able to have them was I've spent years working and volunteering at wolf sanctuaries and wolf dog sanctuaries. The latest one was Yamnuska down in Cochrane. So I recommend checking them out, Yamnuska Wolf Dog Sanctuary. They do tours and a lot more of the in-person education aspect. We're not zoned to do any tours or have any public coming visiting and seeing the animals, but we do hope to do online education and raise awareness just through our farm as we develop the website and get more information shared on them. So just keep an eye out for that. And just remember that, yes, when you do support us, you are also supporting animals in need, which is not easy for a lot of people to do. I know as a kid, I'll tell a quick story. I think it was about 5, 6 maybe. I was up really early one morning and I was watching, I can't remember if it was WWF, the World Wildlife Foundation. They had a commercial come on, like one of those infomercials. And it was like 2 minutes long, and it was about the wolf hunt that was going on up north at the time. And I remember bawling. Like I just remember bawling my eyes out, being so upset that humans were hunting these animals. And I actually called the phone number. So it had like it said, if you want to help, call this number. And I was like 5. So I called the 1-800 number. And sure enough, the lady just was sure she needed to speak to my mom, not this sobbing kid.
Oh,
So ever since then, I've kind of been on a path towards being a voice for wildlife and wolves and animals in general. So I really do feel really blessed to have them in my life, but also like it's a huge responsibility, and it's a huge opportunity to help their wild cousins and to help wolf dogs that are being bred that shouldn't be. And if we just kind of raise public awareness, we can really change some things that are quite important to me, and I believe are not considered enough by most of us. So that's one more thing I would share, and I appreciate for letting me.
yeah, of course. And thank you for sharing that too, because I want people to know, like, when we support local providers in your area, you're actually supporting other things as well. And
Mhm.
sharing that story that you have the wolf dogs there and educating people on that. I think it's like touches people like in their heart, like, oh, well, I want to help this company because what they're doing for the world and helping people and educating people. And I think that was great that you shared that.
Cool. No, and I agree. I see the world as a big team, and I'm sure the world doesn't see it that way right now. But in my heart and in my mind, we are a team, whether we don't see it that way or not. We're all fighting for our home. And if we can just kind of figure out how to get to the root cause of what our issues are and drop the nonsense, I do believe that we're just a part of a team. And so when you do support a local business, you're putting yourself on that team in my mind. And it's a choice that we get to make with our dollars every day, but it affects people and it affects our community. So it is something, it's very powerful to support local. And I think more of us are learning that.
That's awesome. And on that note, I think that's a good wrap up for us for our session. And again, it's Medicine Valley Farms, and however you can support them, and they might end up in a grocery store near you. So
Hopefully we will.
yes, you will.
Well, thank you,
Awesome. Thank
Tanya. I
you.
really appreciate it. And you're quite an amazing human. And just being able to
Oh, thank
inspire
you.
and uplift everyone the way you are is like, it touches me. And I feel very thankful to know you.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome.